This conference will now be recorded.
What you do today is important because you're exchanging a day of your life for it. If you want light to come into your life, you need to stand where it is shining. Good evening, everyone. I hope all are doing well by God's grace. This is Janita from the Department of ECE of Loyola Institute of Technology. I welcome you all for this wonderful webinar on effective organizational culture management. Prayer works wonder. Prayer should spring from heart. I invite Miss Shiny and Mr. Melvin to lead us with a word of prayer. Over to you, Miss Shiny.
Today's Bible reading is taken from the book of Proverbs, chapter 9, verses 9 and 11. Instruct the wise, and they'll be wiser still. Teach the righteous, and they'll add to their learning. For through wisdom your days will be many, and years will be added to your life. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Lord's Prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Over to you, Miss Janita.
Thank you, Miss Shiny and Mr. Melvin. Welcoming heart is the part of all virtue, as is the sign of noble souls. Now I call upon Miss Vincy Sharon from the Department of MBA to address the gathering. Over to you, Miss Vincy.
Thank you, Ms. Janita. First of all, I would like to thank each one of you for joining this webinar. I feel great proud to say that this webinar has been organized by institutions and has chronicled huge success every time. The college organizes such webinars to enlighten the young minds and promote the participation of students at all levels. I bid a very warm welcome to the renowned speaker who took out the valuable time and joined us to be a part of this webinar. We are pleased to have you with us, sir. The theme is based upon the theme of people management during pandemic to help students understand the results of the human action. It focuses on the major issues, solutions, and long-term effects associated with human activities. In addition to this, students will also learn about social skills. Even though this webinar is the marker of the success of our institution, it also allows us to meet some of the brilliant minds of the country which become the speaker of this webinar. With all these words, I'm extremely delighted to pronounce the speaker for the day, who is none other than Mr. Mahendra Murthy, sir. We welcome you, sir. I also welcome the principal, vice principal, head of all departments, faculties, students, and participants. I guarantee that this webinar will be productive and worth your precious time. I welcome each one of you. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Josanita.
Thank you, Miss Vincy Sharon. We would like to extend a hearty welcome to the speaker of the day once again. Now I call upon Ms. Nandini to introduce our speaker. Over to you, Ms. Nandini.
Good evening, everyone. I extend my warm welcome to our respected speaker, Mr. Mahendra Murthy KP Ramachandran, the Technical Director at KMBM Assessment. He was awarded Bachelor degree in BSc Computer Science from World University in 1998, and he completed its Master degree in Computer Application from Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute in 2001. He also done many certifications such as Scrum Master in October 2012 and ITILF certification in August 2014. He is also a Sun certified Java programmer. He started his career as an instructor and then he became a programmer and promoted as a project manager. He has diversified research experience as senior technical project manager in American Institute for Research. Currently, he holds the position of technical director at Cambridge Assessment with 20 years of industrial experience. We, the younger generation, has to admire the quality of experience and knowledge of this resource person. Now, I proudly welcome our speaker to take over the session on effective organizational culture management. Over to you, Ms. Jostanita.
Thank you, Ms. Nandini. We are very delighted to have you with us for this webinar, sir. Patience is not the ability to wait, but the ability to keep good attitude while waiting. Now, most awaited session of the day has come. Let us go to enhance our knowledge in effective organizational culture management. I request Mr. Mahendra Murthy sir to take the floor.
Good evening,
Answered at the
everyone. Thank you, Jose, for giving me this opportunity to take it up. Good evening,
thank you.
everyone. Hope you all are doing
Good evening,
great this evening. It's been a great pleasure for me to be here uh, before you all, and I hope I would make this evening interesting and useful for your career building in the future. I know webinars are the only good and recommended choice uh, during this pandemic, but nothing beats face-to-face. Um, and I wanted to give a minute about explaining on my background, a little bit more detail on top of it, what was being explained a few minutes ago. My specialization started off on planning and project management, and I'm skilled in planning, implementing, and solving critical issues with minimal risk and expertise in people management. That's where I came from. The previous company which I was working on in India, which deals with a financial background. It's a product which has been dealt mainly for the big financial institutions, which you can name it across the world, involves on stock, brokerage, and hedge funds. Then the current company, which I'm working on currently, it's into educational management. To give a one-line description of the educational management, this is basically a product which helps and drives the students to take the test, the assessment, which we call it at over here, educational assessment tools for grades starting from kindergarten to grade 12. Um, in small, simple terms, which I could say, it's like SAT, PSAT, GRE. So we support it from the background. So that's where I'm in the field, just to give you a background of who I am. I could now get into this presentation. So why do we, and what is important and why do we need to have an effective organizational culture? As I know at this point, you guys would have gone, browsed, and would have been prepared with all the interviewing skills, and you know how to knock and mock the interview very well with your technical background and also with your interpersonal skills and personal development skills. But after getting into any company, whether it's an MNC or any startup company, it doesn't matter. But how do you retain yourself and then grow in that career path which you have chosen? So that's where this information would be vital for you to help yourself to grow and lead into the success in the career. What is more important right now, if you think about 15 years before, people wants to join the company as it is, and as soon as we get the job, we get into it and we don't think about anything else, or few of them would really measure what the company is about. But in today's world, the younger generation has started to think about, before getting into the company, what is the vision of the company and what is the mission of the company, what they do. So that we call it as the purpose. What's the purpose of this company? And is it a product? Is it a help support, or is it a technical? So what kind of a company is this, and what they want it to be in next 10 years? What is the vision of this? And the second thing is how ownership plays a vital role in this company. When I say ownership, I would like to mention that do they give opportunities for ideas, presentations? If you see for Amazon, right, the culture of the life is completely different. That uh, even if you join as a developer or as a trainee, you have the ability to explore things, new ideas, learning experiences. So how the company culture has been built up. So you do reviews on internet to find it out. So that's very important. And the third thing what you come into is you find out what type of communications do these company is being supported for. Example, do they have the collaboration tool? Do they do emails? Do they have a lot of meetings? How do they explore their ideas? Where they bring those ideas into the table? So what kind of a conversation do they do? So that's the key part which I'm going to be more stressing about at this point. And nevertheless, in a company, if you all know, you need to be having a good leader for it. Only the good leader will understand that this company can be grown into heights. When I say good leader, it doesn't mean that the CEO or the CTO of the company is just not thinking about the growth of the company. When I say growth of the company, it's
Sir, Mr. McKenwood, your slides are not moving. You're just giving introduction only.
yeah, just giving the introduction, madam.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's mainly what happens is that is it's mainly into the good leader is to see what we could do to achieve the success and the vision and the mission for the 5 years or the tenure of 3 years period from where it was, and then it starts to move into a position where how the company can retain in the market with the competitive world. In simple terms, if you see it, if a new car company comes into India, they wanted to first launch and see if the market is going on good, how the market is growing on. So then they try to expand the service industries into the for those car companies, and then they open up the branches. So that's the expansion. That's a growth. That's a revenue growth which they have thought about it in 3 to 5 years. But as a leader, he's also going to see, okay, if I am being able to be stable here, what is my next move to be looking at a perspective of be competitive in the market, because there are a lot of competitive cars coming into it. So how do I make myself to be a competitor and be a good leader? So these are all the things which they think. So being a good leader is very important, and you look for who's been a leader for that particular company. So these are the aspects which as you young adults will look for when you join the company. So this is the introduction. I just wanted to give the introduction as why this is being chosen and why it has been so important that we're going to talk about it today. So the key topics which I have chosen is the communications, ownership. These are the two main things I thought I would be able to cover it up today. Let me move on to the communication. As you all know, in very simple terms, what we think about a company as communications inside the company. So it's just a mutual talk between one another in a group or an individual. But there are a lot more than that beyond what we do, because in a workplace, in a company, in an MNC or a startup or any organization, it looks for your way of communications and how do you communicate with others. That is a key position. From my experiences, what I've seen is that's the key part that we look for, or at least personally, I look for how to grade a person and what, and I could even judge the person of their aspects of how do they communicate. So that was one thing which is a key part, which as like in the bigger organizations, we look for it. When I say communication, don't think that it's just merely communication, like, how do I talk to these people? Do I make a good handshake? Do I have a good eye contact? It's nothing just stopping only between that. If you go into the minute detail of it, it's after this presentation, you would know that there are a lot of other things which we also govern as in the top level, that how do I assess, or how do we assess people into the teams. And why is it been so important that we are all talking about it? Because that's where you express. For example, I think you guys would have all, if you have attended the mock interviews or if you would have attended any trainee sessions in a company as an internship, you would know that they have group discussions. Mainly in the group discussions, if you see, they wanted to assess like, how people talk about it. But no, not only that, right? What is your gesture? What is your posture? How do you put your points? Where do you put your points? How do you express the data points? Are you expressing the concern or are you expressing the agitation? What is your facial expressions? If someone knocks off you and say that, no, you're wrong. Okay, even if I'm wrong, how do I react to it? That doesn't mean that you have to be calm again, right? So those are all the things. Are you getting agitated? So this is all happens when the communication goes on, right? Even with your friends, even with your relatives, even with your family, doesn't matter, right? If someone opposes you, how do you react to it? That shows your character, that shows your nature, that shows how you are, and that is going to be important. Why in a company is especially is that everyone would have even seen, right? Oh, I think he's been so rigid today. Why is it? Maybe he's having a bad day. Maybe his traffic would have been got pissed off. So that's why he's been so rigid today. He's been so, I don't know. He usually comes and says hi, but today I think he's so rigid. Why? Because his communication on his facial expressions totally changes today. So this is how, even in a friendly colleague, we find it out, right? So that's why this is so important. And why has it been so important for my career growth? It shows like the attitude. How do you make it up with the customer, with the client? If the client opposes, saying that no, this logic doesn't work for me, or this is not enough, and what you have done is crap, you can't immediately react to it. You have to react to it, but how do you react to it? That's where I'm going to be, explaining you, which will be a betterment of for you guys. Okay, now moving on to the little bit of telling you on with an examples. I'll give more examples because that's my style of explaining and tutoring my teams. I hope that should be also okay for you, because I think giving examples will get more idea of what is this thought process rather than just going through the definitions of what it is. So the different styles of communications, which I'll start with. The first one is the assertive. As you know, all the assertive, it has its own meaning. I don't want to get into that meaning of that, but assertive, I'll just put it into small, simple terms. It's the most effective communication we have seen. Like when I say assertive, let's give an example, right? A product manager comes into your desk and says that he knows what is in his mind, but he's been so confident while he's talking. He doesn't gives a second thought for the team members to think, okay, he's halfway about his solution. He does not even know what it is. Or he's just trying to pull out whether the decision would be okay with him. It's like a firm answer. He knows what the solution is, but he wants to make that to be very affirmative to you all in the team members table to make sure that you all agree. But he puts it out in such a way that he produces a solution and he gives the part of that solution to everyone and waits patiently to listen to the other team members as what they have to say. That's the key part that I said. This is an effective communication. That is, it's a two-way communication. Most of the times, if you would have seen, people don't encourage that. Okay, I got my solution. This is my boss. That's it. I'm done. You have to do this X plus Y. Done. And you have to walk away with that solution. No, the assertive makes a two-way communication that they listen to it and they see, okay, what do you feel about it? And someone will say, no, this could have been better like this. He, as an expert, will have a solution for it, and he has to explain, and he makes sure that he explains and makes it's like a convincing factor. Take like this, right? You're convincing. You have been assigned a task to convince, or like if you get into the marketing industry, that you are going to promote something and you know about it and you have already discussed about the solution. But now you have to convince the client or the customer or the stakeholders to make sure that they are also ready and acceptable for the solution. But it should not be one way, it should be a two-way communication. That's what the assertive communication style would be. How do we deal with a person if my manager is an assertive communicator? Great. Always wait for the manager to complete his point of solution or a view that he completes to it. Never interrupt them. Let them finish it off. Note down your points and then give them saying that, okay, I understand if you're trying to do this. Did you thought about the other way that this code would break up, or this would be a little cost effective? So you can bring up all your points because he will give you a time to speak for it. But if you interrupt on it, that will make him an aggressive. So that's the second part. So never ever interrupt a person whom you're reporting manager or a lead or whatever you call it as. So in that case, if he is an assertive style of a leader, make sure that he completes the solution. The reason is they will be very smart enough to find out all the loopholes before you think of. So that's what we have found it out. So we have to wait for them to complete the entire story of why they have chosen it, rather than interrupting and asking questions. And he will have an answer for it. But instead of that, let's wait for it. So that's the protocol here. Second is aggressive. I don't want to give more explanation to it, as you all know about the word aggressive. It's very, self-explanatory. The same thing, but coming in a different style. It's like you call it as how you call it as arrogant, stringent. You can call it any of the names, right? He knows what the solution is and he demands for that solution to get into it. The only difference between the first assertive and the aggressive would be is he does not wait for other people to say anything because he have already thought through everything. So he doesn't give the way to think for the other people. So he says, okay, I'm done. You have to finish this up and then let me know it's all done. Then I'll be able to collaborate this to the customer. That's all he has to say. He finishes off with a one-way communication type. He doesn't even give a time to even for you to react to it or say anything. It's basically, I would say in short words, he doesn't give any feelings to the team or the teammates to give any. Uh, you would not be probably giving any solutions, but even any questions to be raised, he knows what the answer is when he already addressed it. So he doesn't want even to hear about those questions, and he will say it's like a win-win situation, right? He will just always say, "Okay, I'm done. I always win." It's like a one-way traffic. It doesn't go into the both the ways. How do I handle these people? Truthfully, it's a very tough one to handle these people. Nevertheless, it's not that we cannot work with these people. It's tough, but there are ways to do that. So what you could do is you have to wait for the blunt tone of him has been calmed down so that you can raise your concerns and issues or questions in a later time. Because these type of people may be very busy in delivering the results as quick as possible rather than trying to, I wouldn't say waste their time, because from their mind it's they're wasting time, but they don't want to evaluate or give time for their emotions of their team to explain what are all the other questions they have. They don't have that time because they feel that, no, I have to deliver it. That's all in their minds. So you have to make it cool, let the hot water cool down for a while, and then just raise it up. It's not that they're going to be aggressive all the time. So give them the time and then start with it. The third is the passive one. The passive one, as you all know, it's like a people pleaser, I would say. Okay, you all throw up, and I just been so calm, so relaxed. And even if you make a fun of it, doesn't matter. I'll just listen to it. That it's it works in certain places, like a service industry. Yes, I understand, to make it fun because you'll be so hardworking. I understand that, but not in a style of I would say product company. No, that's not the style you want it to be. It has to be on the first one, assertive. On the passive ones, it will be like you'll be too much, again, taking longer time to be talking, but nevertheless you would, the leader doesn't moves anything. So that's the passive one. It's like, very people pleaser. Okay, you say that you cannot able to do it in 5 days. Okay, that's fine. Then let me go back to the client and say, okay, I'll do it in 7 days. No, that doesn't make any sense. You have to talk through it and then find it out. Really, it has to take 5 days, then fine, it has to be done. So that kind of a affirmative, right? A relaxed a person, but more relaxed to the team and doesn't even stresses what he thinks about it and what is the business value involved on it. So that's a passive communication style. So in that, how do we deal with these people? Ask them what is the timeline, what type of data do they have right now, and why is it being this as a requirement right now. So that's a kind of a pitch you have to make it up to understand the value of what is the timeline that we are talking about to complete this, and what is the business value in adding this up. So those are all the points which will make you to understand, okay, can I give an affirmative, relaxed, extended timeline, or is it should be a short timeline to win the company standards. So how do I do that? So that's how you have to approach a passive communication style. The fourth one is the passive aggressive communication style, which is I don't want to use the certain words over here, but if you see, you would have seen most of the people, right? Talking back, gossips, right? So those are all the people come under this category. Like they might feel they wanted to say something, but they wanted to bite their teeth because I know for a fact I don't want to be so aggressive and put my feet on down, but I'll be so calm, relaxing. But you know in their facial expressions that, hey, he's controlling his anger. He's he's really angry with me, but he doesn't show off because he cannot. That's why he is. That is not that good in nature, because if you don't show up, it's not to be aggressive personally, but it will land up into a personal aggressiveness. Always they think something, but they deliver something, or they talk something on the table, which is the passive and aggressive. So they look like passive on their points, but they may be aggressive inside. Their frustration is keep on building on it, jumping onto it, like, how do I deal with these people then? It's a little tough, as I said again, but try to focus on the message what they try to give in a silent way, and then deliver it. Be calm, as I said, in assertive communication style. Let them finish it off and then provide your ideas. If it doesn't work out, as I said, uh, it's it's better to just to calm down yourself and then put your ideas in the later stage. Like saying that once a product is done, you could say, hey, these are all the variations and these are all the improvements which can be done, which will be betterment. I just wanted to bring it to your table at a later stage. So that would be the easiest way to get rid of these people or to handle these people. And okay, effective communication. What do you mean by effective communication? Difference on the basic communication. The basic communication is you try to just talk to a common teammate in a very casual way as what you wanted to. But what is this effective communication? Effective communication is a good listener. You should also be a good listener. Never oppose anything just on your thoughts. You should think about out of the box. When I say that, this will happen only when you grow into a bigger team and you're trying to handle a lot of team members. So that's where you become an effective communicator. The success of the effective communication is the team will always thinks about high on you. So the effective communication is you have to think about, first thing would be is analytical. What do you mean by analytical in the sense here? So let's say as I'm giving you a presentation over here, right? So if I would have been given with different numbers, right? The strategic data of it, like, how many students, young adults who joined less than 3 years, how many people have been successful in their effective communication. It's a kind of a percentage of numbers across the world, or dividing into regions and sectors. It would be so interesting. That's called as data analytical, right? So you have to understand your team and your manager, what he likes. Is he likes the data a lot? Then let me present the data. So that is a key for you to talk. If you go to him and say, hey, this solution would work better than this, like for example, I know how to fine tune this particular, I know you guys are all ECE guys, so let me give an explanation, like, hey, this machine is being serviced, but if you service more on this with the new parts, let me put it out in this way, then your production will goes up. So you're talking about in normal terms, and you think that's the best communication. Excellent. You conveyed it very well. But in terms of a data, if you would have said, hey, you would have been increasing your production with 25%. If that's what your manager likes it, that is what you are delivering it. So you are becoming an effective communicator. So understand the manager in terms of what he likes. Is he an analytical person? Then gives the data analytics to him. That is analytical. The second would be the intuitive. The intuitive means, if you would have seen a lot of people, right? Bigger picture. Don't give me like 25%, 30%. Give me what can be helped here. Okay, if you change 2 emissions of this, I think our sales is going to be up in next 3 months. That's all I care. Okay, fine. Thanks. Bye. So that's at the higher level. It's intuitive. They don't care about the minute details of what you do. Okay, for purchasing this will take 3 months, this will do this. So they don't want to get into that detail. All they need is in one line, what is crisp and short? What do I need to hear? That's what they wanted to. That's called as intuitive communication. The third one is the functional communication, which I said, which they wanted to know about start to end, which is minute detail. When you say, I want to replace these 2 machines, okay, what is the first one? I need to make a purchase order. Okay, fine. And you have to also analyze before making a purchase order. You have to see all the types of machines and who gives the best price. Okay, that takes 1 week. And then you place an order, and then the order will take about 30 days. And after that, I'm going to install the machine or assembling the machine. That takes about like 15 days. Okay, and this is your man effort. This is a level of effort. And my production starts here. My production unit is here. And this is the cost of electricity. And this is the cost of the labor with every minute details from start to finish. You give them, which we call it as Microsoft project plan. So you give the entire history of start to end with the dates, with cost. That is called as functional. How do I make this functional? That is called as functional communication. Last but the least is the personal communication. The personal communication is, as all you know, it's trying to hit with the emotional ones, right? So mainly the HR would choose this, but it doesn't mean that no one chooses it. But I'm just saying, the personal communication is basically into like, the HR people, like, to understand the background of it. Like someone empathizes you, right? And says that, okay, you're leaving the company. Why do you want to leave the company? Is it your financial background? Is it the financial status that has been stopping you? Or is it something bothering you? What is in your mind? Spit it out, and we would be able to sort it out. That's the kind of a personal communication. Like for example, a boss comes to you and then says that, hey, we are being in a great loss, and if we don't recover it in 6 months, we are all out of the game. So that kind of a emotional stress is being under you, then you put it into the team, not saying that, hey, you'll all lose your jobs, then now they will all leave. But that's not you want. Your personal communication should be this: guys, I understand that we have been like, our sales has been minus 30% for the past 3 months. So what I should do? Okay, that's fine. What we could do? Can we cut shop something? Can we do something different? Is it something you have ideas? Can we do some tools? Can we do some tutorials to make sure that we can be effective enough to make the sales up and again? So those are all the personal, emotional tacklings that you have to do. These are all the things which you have to think in your mind to get into being an effective communicator. Okay, the different types of communications. Again, I don't want to give any definitions of it, but you all know. I just wanted to touch base on small and simpler things so that you can understand, which not in the generic terms, like non-verbal communications. It's mainly important on your facial expressions and the way you speak and the way you communicate to others. Like you would have seen, right? Some of the units which they work on, they have an eye contact with the persons. They know what to be talked. From the eye contacts, they change the ways of saying it. For example, like let's say, hey, I'm planning to complete this work about by tomorrow. And if the manager sees at his eyes and says, no, he's a client, he's expecting it today. So he communicates with you in eyes and say, probably I'll finish it up by end of day. So that's way you change your response by looking at this. So these are the non-verbal communications. And again, it's not ending up just to be on a positive, and also the posture which you look like, right? For example, which we admire, right? When fresh graduates comes in. So how is their posture to talk to us? Are they nervous? Are they relaxed? Are they been free? Are they been mentally prepared? Or are they trying to, being nervous, but they don't know what kind of a logical systems they wanted to work on. So how affirmative you are and what kind of posture you give it off. So that's a kind of a thing, right? So that's what we govern on it, which is non-verbal communications, mainly on postures, eye contacts, facial expressions, etc. Moving on to the verbal communications. As you all know, verbal is just speaking. As I told you, if you could all think about these topics which I've spoken about earlier, the best is in your hands, the verbal communications, how to communicate to your colleagues, teammates, superiors, etc. Written communications is very, very important, but these days there is a best tools which is all coming up so you can be grammatically correct, but that's not the point of written communication. The clarity and the content. What type of content are you giving and whom you are giving? That's what these 4 effective communications will play a vital role. And also you have to think about it in an email which someone is requesting for, what they're requesting for, rather than giving an explanation. For example, if someone is introducing themselves, like as I said, if suddenly someone comes for an inspection uh, in a manufacturing industry, so how do you communicate to them in the written way? Because they don't know the history of what has happened or what was happening when they were doing an inspection. So you have to give a background and then explain that, hey, this is why this production was low, or this is why there was no people on this unit, or this is why this machine was not working. So you have to give a background, and then, so that's what I call it as a content. So you have a clarity for it. But if it is a superior or a supervisor who is just working with you, and he was off for a couple of weeks, you don't want to give a big explanation or a big history of it, because that's wasting us time. He knows all his history. So you have to give a clarity of, okay, this is what it is, smart and sweet. So that kind of written communication I'm talking about, apart from what you do in grammaticals and explanations, pleasing and apologizes and everything, that's totally different. But what I'm saying is the clarity and the content that we look for. In the sense we look for, is that's client will be looking for that. See, that will be the one which will help you to get into a bigger organization. Believe me, that's where the key part it is. Try to learn and aspire people how and whom what I have to communicate. If you get to know all of this, then The suite is in your hands. No, no one can stop you on that. The fourth one is the visual communications. That's basically in video chatting, whatever you call it as, however you can name it up, like Skype, MS Teams. There are a lot of GoToMeetings. So these are all the type of communications, inner communications, which you do. Like, for example, you're working here and there is a team which works in United States, and then how do you communicate with them? So that's the best way of communicating is just through video chats, right? You don't have, even though you call it as a what do you say, face-to-face expressions, but still it is through visualization, right? So it's very important that when you do visualization, you have to make sure that you have a good eye contact with them, and you have to make sure that you are trying to put more of a digital expressions to it. Like when I say that, if you're talking on the data points, try to explain with the graph, try to explain with kind of a tools, or if you're trying to explain on a whiteboard, explain them what the solution is. So that's how the communication would be better, rather than just seeing at his face and then explaining him. um, would not kick off in that good way, rather than just saying that, okay, I'm going to share my screen, this is what I'm seeing it, and it's a quick graph. Learn about those graph, right? In Excel, it's very pretty much easy. Put the graphs and then explain this, and that will kick it off in 5 minutes. What you have wanted to do it, as you all know that, right? Sometimes writing 1,000 words is equivalent to one image will show you what you try to explain to them. So that's what the visual communication will help for. I'll quickly jump onto it on the ownerships a little bit because I thought this would be easy for you guys and it will be also helpful for you. Ownership. What do you mean by ownership? All you know that in this aspect is if I take anything on my hands, that is ownership. No, it's more of a ownership is accountability. What does that accountability mean? That if a task is being given to me, let me research myself and take this as my own task and then try to investigate before I jump onto the solution. That is, you would have all heard about this famous words and the phrases, right? Put yourself into the shoes. So that, to be very honest, that is one good thing which I got into it when I learned from my previous experiences. I was being able to put myself into the client's shoes. Like, what is their expectations? Even if they give me a 10 client expectations, I would say that I would knock it off to 6. The reason is I would sit with them and then say, okay, I will see this product not as what I developed it or what I communicated to you. Let me see on the upside down, like, opposite to it, and see, okay, what I could see wrong in this product, what is missing in this product, and what is the purpose of you asking this will satisfy your needs. So I will go into that kinds of a detail. So that is called as ownership. I'm being accountable of what they have provided to me, rather than just take it because it's money. I know it's money. End of the day, it's my money. It's not a big deal. I can just get, if I get 10 client requirements, I can build them up for all the 10 instead of making 6. But for a long-term relationship, this is not right. So you have to think about the accountability. So I take the accountability of it and make sure that I read it and I say that, okay, I understood this, but instead of working like this kind of a pattern A, why can't we do pattern B? Because that would satisfy your needs, and also in future if you want to expand. Okay, what do you say about this? Can you give an example? An example of, right, say, if you have a computer and you want to have a big space, right? Your C or a D or a partition space has been almost taken away. So you think extra hard disk could buy it? Yes, that's an option, not a big deal. Okay, then you say that, okay, hey, system coordinator, can I get a machine? And then someone comes from the salesperson and he says, why can't you get a new laptop, sir? That would be the real choice for me, because he would make $5,000 rupees from you, right? You would say, oh, that's a better deal. Let me get it. No, think it about on the other way, right? If a salesman says, why do you want to get 5,000 and waste it? Can I give some other option? Can I give an external hard drive for you? Because your machine, you like the machine, right? It's speed. Yeah, the speed is very good. All you need is to dump all this because it's all graphics, loaded PDF documents, videos. Why can't you just dump it outside? So your system is free to back to work. So do you think you like them? Yes, definitely you're going to call the salesperson again if you have, even if you have it. To purchase somewhere, you still ask his advice. Why? Why is because he earned your trust. After 5 iterations, if he comes and say, hey, this is the best time you have to change your laptop, I would completely tell you that your mind will say, let me buy it. You won't even give a second thought to browse for it. See, that's the key part which I'm saying. This ownership will help you out. Take the ownership in your hands sometimes on a business point of view and think it over, because that will help you out on a long-term basis. And as I said, why ownership is in the workplace is important is because you will be carrying forward the business value of the company. Not all business people will look at you in this position, but when you grew into I know MBA folks are here, so when you grew into a managerial criteria or a business manager, this key aspect will definitely help you to climb the ladder. Within 5 years, you cannot see that your growth has been so huge if you think and if you put this in your place. Don't take it personal, because when you say ownership, it's not personal. Don't take it in that way. Oh, this is my work. No, I'm not saying that. Ownership is completely different. Wear a hat of ownership means that what I would have been done if I would have been in his position. That's the one which I'm thinking about it. In 2 minutes, you will get to know, okay, if I do this, wouldn't I have to think about this? Would it not be affecting this? So in a business aspect, don't go into the cost aspect immediately. It's a business aspect. So that is what it's important for you in the workplace. The second is the self-accountability. That is I don't know how many of you folks are going to be joining into the IT industry. If you are, self-accountability is any task has been assigned to you is your accountabilities. You cannot give excuses. Try not to give excuses. Try to find solutions rather than giving excuses to find a solution to complete it. That would be the key part and the success part for you. And with all this, what I want to say is the benefits. The benefits are huge and enormous with all the communications which we all talked about, and the ownerships which you take upon. And more than that is self-accountability. Take it, everything which has been assigned to you, as like I'm accountable to it and I have to answer to it, and I am the only person to answer to it, right? Like for example, if you, it's like very simple, right? Trusting someone, right? That's where I'm coming into it. If you get a bike from your friend, you are accountable for it. Take it in that way. It doesn't matter. It's not your belongings. I know it doesn't belong to you officially. I know, but still make sure that you're accountable for it. Think about like, okay, he gave me for about like 3 days, but it doesn't matter. He is not going to ask me, even if I use this very rough uses every day. I just drive about like for 50 kilometers. No, make it very simple. If you want to, please use it. If you don't want to, no, I don't want to use it. See, that's the kind of an accountability. I'm accountable for that because he has trusted me and he has given me this work. Let me be truthful to that. So if you do that, automatically you will see the rise in the bars. I hope I used your efficient times within the time frame which has been given to me. And I would like to conclude this webinar with the thank you notes. I would like to take a moment to thank the professors, teachers, and to the coordinator, Jose Chenita, and also a special thanks to one my HOD, lovable HOD, Dr. Nalini Madam, for giving me this opportunity. I had a hard time to find it out her. I finally found it out her through LinkedIn last year, and that was a great pleasure for me to meet her after 16 years out of contact. And she gave me this opportunity. And thank you, madam. Thank you so much for trusting me. And I hope I would have enlightened the students, and I hope they would have learned at least some of the ideas which have been thrown out into this conversation. Yeah, thank you all. It's back to Jose.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thanks for the wonderful session, sir. It was very interesting, inspiring, and very informative. The way you have explained the topic with examples was very easy to understand. Surely we will follow these communication style in our life, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we have come to question and answer session. Participants have posted their questions in chat box. I invite Ms. Abhisha to read the queries. Over to you, Ms. Abhisha.
Thank you, Ms. Josjanita. Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. We have few questions, sir. The first question is, what type of communication style would you recommend for us as a fresher who joins the company?
Yes. So I would say being assertive, as I said, assertive communication style is the best style. But as a fresher, what I would say is, if after you join the company, try to understand your team, like which part of the team are you belonging to. For example, if it's a design team, make sure that your communication is with the data, which is like images, colors, etc. Or if you are a part of a coding team, then make sure that you express and put your concerns of how much effort between the two deliverables of code, the lines of code. So the way you communicate, again, the data plays into vital role. And if you are being put into the management or HR kind of a role, or like a business analyst or with the client, then I would say that try to pitch in with the out of box ideas. That's the communication you have to make it up. All your communications would be piece of it, because as a fresher you have to first try to see what is your strength, right? um, I would like to give an example, right? Because when I joined as a instructor, that's my first job in 2001. I will never forget in my life. And I still even coach my teammates with the same example years and years and years. I do that. So what I do is I basically uh, is I hope everyone knows the programming languages, right? I take that as an assumption that you guys all know programming languages and you have come across the polymorphism in your roles. So if you see that when I was teaching polymorphism, I was not teaching in the way that what is in the books. I told them that three simple uh, words I wrote in the board, which is a capital letter C and a word as SCA, and there's a word SWE. But if you pronounce all these, you will have only one pronunciation. It doesn't change. But all these three words are different. So I told my students that, that's all the polymorphism when you see this. It's one pronunciation, but gives three different meanings. So if you read now polymorphism, you will understand what is it. So that's a kind of a catch I went into it. So the reason what I'm saying is the communication is where you are is get into it, right? So that's how I developed my knowledge of giving examples. I thought like giving you examples will reach the mind faster than reading a big book, because I'm not good in reading books. Rather than I convert myself into real-time examples. So that I feel that okay, that makes me to push forward. So I hope I answered the question to the student.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, tell me about your time you dealt with a difficult employee or in a difficult situation.
Okay, there are a lot of situations, but I could say one of them was in my previous company was when I was dealing with the financial world. As you all know, numbers matters for them. When I say numbers, is like money matters, right? So the product which we developed on it, it was being slightly delayed. When I say slightly delayed, you guys would have all seen the dashboard of flashing dashboards for share markets. The money market goes up and down with the fluctuations. So our product was being lagging behind of 30 seconds. So we thought 30 seconds doesn't matter, and with the high internet speed, it should be pretty much easy to flash it out. But we never anticipated that that would be a huge loss. I mean, according to us, it's a huge loss. From the company's perspective, it's not, because they were okay with that. So they lost about like $100,000 for this 30 seconds delay. So that's where we were being called into a meeting in London, and I was being presenting over that, and then he showed me the graphics and the data that it's been a loss for the company. So that was very hard for me to handle, because I don't know what to say, because it's completely it's liable to us, and the company, the client has lost such a huge loss for their company. After all the conversation, I took up and I said that I was being able to correct this and rectify it, but I was not sure, like, what should I do by telling them to compensate for the loss for it. So that's where the boss of that company, which is a great guy, he's a billion-dollar guy, and he's still in Hong Kong right now, a good friend of mine, Chris Nash. So he called me and he said, don't be stressed about it. All we have to think about it is how we can stop the loss. Always try to think, if you are in a boat, to stop getting the survival status first, and think about, after that gets into the shore, after you have been survived, then think about it, how can you prevent this to do it. Don't think about two things at a time, like prevention and survival. That doesn't help, because you will lose. So first think about the survival, because that's where he learned from it. So that's where he guided me. So I would say that would be a tough spot and also a learning spot. I learned a lot from him, because it was so tough for me to also get back to my company and say that, hey, we have a big damage to be convinced for the client. At the same time, it's to the client to please on saying that I cannot do anything much for your loss, right? So I was on 50-50. So I was being wearing both the hats, as a part of my company as well as part of their company too. So that was my difficult spot.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, what are the key points to build high performance in an organization?
High performance in an organization. I believe when you say high performance in an organization, you meant to say self high performance, right? It's not the business performances. If it is a self form of performances, so what I would say is, understand the style of your manager whom you're working with. So that would esteem your performance to the next level. So when I say that, try to see what he wants. Try to minimize the risk of what exactly he's looking for. In the sense, um, I would say, I would take it up in this picture. Like, if your manager has been so busy on tackling on new requirements, try to eliminate the work for him to look up for the requirements which has been already signed off. So I would say, try to give him in a good picture of when those requirements will be completed, or when it is going to be completed. Is it on time? Is there any escalations? Try to talk about this and get to him only when there is a issue, or when things are getting dropped off. Doesn't matter, you have to be a manager for it. Trust me. I was I lead it up into this organization in a very short time, and I've never even thought about it, okay, this is not my responsibility. The good way what I esteemed my performances was as simple as that. It's only one thing. I took it up as understanding what my manager does. He does all this, okay? He is responsible for this whole team, fine. And I will make sure that he's aware of these things, because he has 100 things and to work on it for a day. But what is the key issues that he has to be looking for, and what is the key issues he should be listening to it? That's where I was. To be very frank, I was listing out all the key issues which has been escalations will happen after a period of time, someone is going to inform him saying that, hey, this was an escalation, this was not done. Maybe a day, two, but I told him well in advance. That's called as proactive. So I would say in one word, being proactive will esteem your performance in an organization. But if you think about the business perspective, you have to think about what is the growth of the company. So where you can make your business growth for your company. Is it more ideas, more thoughts, or more services to be provided? Where is it been lagging? So that's the key part. If you think where it has been lagging, you can correct it off.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, has the development of the internet and social media caused a change in the way we communicate, like quality, quantity, style, etc.?
Can I have the question again?
Oh,
You see.
yes, sir. Has the development of the internet and social media caused a change in the way we communicate, like quality, quantity, style, etc.?
Of course, right? We can see all the good and the bad of the improvement of internet and social media. Absolutely, there are a lot of developments, right? And you all know today's world is going on behind the AI, right? Artificial intelligence. Beware and make sure that in next 15 years you will have robots a lot, and you can see cars getting into all sides of the country with like a driverless car. You don't want to do anything. So we are soon moving into an artificial intelligence. If you see, Microsoft has been inventing themselves into a lot of therapies, and man-made operations can be done by robots, machines. These are all artificial intelligence. Tomorrow's world into the artificial intelligence, right? So that's all the technology it is. So the social media, if you look into it, I would say yes, it is good and the bad, but I see in the look of the good side, right? So when I say competitive in the market, you have to be competitive in the market. If you say what is artificial intelligence, then it's very bad, right? You have to see what is being new today in artificial intelligence. Where are we going on? If someone studies in robotics today, right, he's going to be an esteemed organization in next 15 years, no doubt, because he has a great future on it. That doesn't mean others don't have a future, but what I'm trying to say is you have to cope up in your latest technologies. What has been there, right? As you would have seen, we have just crossed, maybe it's like 21 years. But if you see in 2000, how many of us was been using a lot of computers at home? And if you see in 2005 and 2010, it's all of like a big box of computers. But right now, it's all laptops. It's very hard to see, machines with big boxes. And laptops are still shrinking, right? So those are all the technologies which I see it. So I see it in a perspective of in a good way, but I also know that that's not the only truth. It has also the dark side of it, which I personally don't get into it. My vote is to see that the technology is going into a side of a improvement and a lot of a quality way of going on to the forward.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for answering those questions and for the great presentation, sir. It was a pleasure to have you with us, sir. Thank you, sir. Over to Miss Jostanita.
Thank you, Ms. Abhisha. It is not joy that makes us grateful. It is gratitude that makes us joyful. I invite Mr. Karthik from the Department of MBA to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Mr. Karthik.
Okay, let me take this opportunity as till Karthik comes. Good evening, everyone. So I'm so happy and delighted to see my student, very precious batch students from MGR Engineering College of. At the time they were affiliated to Madras University. Those people were the first batch of mine. Uh, so really, you made it, Mahendra Murthy. I'm so proud of you, the way you handle the things. I know Mahendra Murthy since 2099 onwards. So very calm, as a very soft spoken, and he does lot of things. Okay, he was the class representative. The way he communicate with the students, as he said, I am a very aggressive leader. Now also I am like that only. My students will acknowledge that. Not only my students, all the faculty members, they all know I am a taskmaster. And even in the crisis time, I will finish up the task that whoever has studied under me or whoever has worked with me, they all know. So that is what the Mahendra Murthy told me when I first communicated. He told, ma'am, you have not changed, not even a single bit, ma'am. Same voice, same authoritative voice, same way look like, ma'am. So I'm happy that all my students remembered my initiatives. As Mahendra Murthy said, I am always take ownership. Okay, so even Jasmine ma'am was asking how to deal with the tough employee, but I can also, she would have asked the question how to manage the tough employers. Okay, how to manage the tougher, but I think that answer comes from your slide itself. So really, heartfelt thanks. I'm so proud of you, Mahendra Murthy. It is not the chance I have given. I should feel happy that you are given your precious time in this pandemic with your busy schedule. You have given the time, and the way you have handled this particular subject in a very alike manner to our both for MBA students as well as for engineering students. So really your lecture will be very helpful not only for the students as well as for our faculty members, how to deal the managers as well as the students part also, how to achieve things. So at the end of the day, you should be a achiever. So my tagline is, I always be a achiever. If we are going to lose also, we should know to achieve at least in the next chance. So we should do all kind of things in this matter. So really, I'm so happy Mahendra Murthy is here, and I wish the people who are listening, as well as my students, should come as a chief guest to our the continuous webinars we are going to participate in the successive years, because hereafter this online platform, this kind of communication skill will definitely will helpful. And once again, I thank all the faculty members, faculty coordinators, student coordinators for this wonderful session. Thanks a lot on behalf of you. I am thanking Mahendra Murthy, my beloved student. All the best, very best. God bless you, Mahendra Murthy. Go up and reach the heights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you so much. I know your blessings will be always with me. Thanks so much for this. And I will just say one note of it, because which was recently happened, which I also communicated with my close networks of friends and colleagues, which ma'am knows about it. There are 4 friends of us. We were being very impressive, because just for you folks, I just wanted to let you also know, when ma'am was saying that she was being aggressive, just one good example. She communicated, or she rather chatted with me just about like 2 days before. Uh, and the time was 2:30 p.m. in Eastern Standard Time, which is in the United States, which is 12 o'clock for you guys. And we were being so impressed, and I was asking whether it's midnight. And he said, yeah, I'm just wrapping it up. And then I wanted to make sure that I got all your names and everything correctly. I was being so impressed. The reason behind is just about like 3 months before, when we have our association, Alumni Association, MGR, Alumni Association friends, we were talking about it, that at the age of 40, we were all thinking, oh, we are all working very hard, man. We should take a break. We should never work after 9 o'clock. We should close our computers and just relax ourselves. And one among them is me and my good friend Sai. So we were thinking about it. So I just called him up yesterday as soon as I I chatted with Nalini madam and I said, boy, we just spoke about it 6 months before that we should not be working late nights. But think about it. Ma'am is still been awake till 12 o'clock to complete her task. Doesn't matter at all. And she might have a lot of personal work at this age. And at this age, she's doing it, right? So that was the inspiration for me and for us to see how she is.
Okay, that's good. And I used to say a few words about polymorphism and all. I have handled the Java program. At the time only it was introduced, Java programming. So I used to tell, for examples for multitasking, polymorphism and all. I will say, I'll be a good teacher, I'll be a good mother, and good student or good staff. So different roles I'm playing. It all depends on the hands of yours, like that. So this is what we have to be a multitasker, and as we reach the heights as administrative post, you should work 24/7, and we should know to finish that task. That is what. Okay, so that is the moral. I'm not expecting everyone should work like me. So you should plan activity. So this is what. Thank you, Mahendra Murthy, for the memory. Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am.
Karthik has joined.
Miss, Mr. Karthik, please unmute yourself.
I think you have network issues. Okay, no problem. Georgianita, you can wind up.
Yes, ma'am. Every ending has a new successful beginning. My hearty thanks to everyone for the great success of the event. Dear participants, the feedback link has been posted in the chat box. Kindly fill it, and you will receive your e-certificate within 2 to 3 working days. And also, kindly stay tuned with our upcoming webinars that is going to be held from Monday onwards. Stay home, stay safe, and save lives. Thank you.
Thank you.